Good evening, YouTube. I'm out here in the shed on a hot Tuesday night, and I'm making snowmen for the holiday season. I have a local store that sells, it's a gift shop of sorts, and it sells my snowmen and my Christmas trees fairly well, actually, but surprisingly, which, like I say, it surprises me. But anyway, I've got a piece of red cedar chucked up here. You can see it's just an oddball piece of red cedar. It's you know, about 4.5 inches long, which is for the metric folks 110 millimeters or 11 centimeters. So anyway, uh, let me show you, let me get one out of the back. I've already started. Here's one I've done earlier. You can see it's just a two ball guy. Uh, I don't paint these. I don't decorate the rims or anything like that. This nub here from the tailstock and that from the headstock are going to be sanded down, and it's going to be finished. They're finished with boiled linseed oil. This one's out of oak, for those who don't know. And this is basically what I'm going to make. And I'm going to make I got a bunch of other blanks still to go, but this one tonight's going to be in red cedar. So let's get going. Got my face shield on for anybody who's concerned. Going to do these mostly with the skew. This is a 1-inch skew. And I'm turning pretty fast here. For me, it's a 1620 on my lathe, so just going to get her rounded down. I got to raise the rest up just a little bit, and we're just going to get into it. Hear that sound? Now listen to it here. The reason it's quieter over here is because this is closer to being completely round than right there. See? Got that right there still. Got that void right there. But whereas here, it's mostly round. So, plus I've got a knot right there. That little knot will will make it interesting but it can also make it tear out like right here. So anyway, still going to keep going here. This will be the head and the hat end. This will be the base down here. And see, now we're almost completely round, and that's okay that that's not round. It's still a little bit flat because the hat's going to end right there. And then we're going to have the brim or whatever it is. And then I'll have probably the first segment of the body there. And then I got to trim off a little bit here on the base. But this will be my bottom segment. This will be my top. This will be the rim of the hat. And this will be the top part. So anyway, just going to keep rolling here. I'm going to take the parting tool and clean up the ends. Just going to go down as close as I can to my 4-prong center without hitting it. I'm going to do the same thing on this end. One thing to keep in mind about cedar is it's very soft. So it will chip out, it will break off easily. I'm going to shorten this down a little bit more. That leaves me a pretty good little nub to hold on to the end of the piece. I'm going to take my skew, my 1/2-inch skew, long point down. I'm just going to do a little cleanup cut here on the end. Do the same on the bottom. Alright, I'm going to use my thin parting tool, a homemade thin parting tool, to define my different segments. And what I'm doing is I'm looking down the grooves at the lathe bed underneath where you can't see it, down in here. I'm looking through, seeing how much daylight I've got in each groove, and when the depth of the whole slot is the same, I'm showing the same amount of daylight, and then I know I'm far enough down. Now I'm going to put in another segment, another slice right here. And this one's about as deep as these two, just roughly speaking. Now I'm going to do a peeling cut and clean a lot of this off. Take it down to whatever diameter I feel like the hat should be. And typically I angle the top portion of the hat back in so it's a little bit narrower here than it is here at the top. Now the rim is too wide. I'm going to carefully shave this down. This is cedar, so like I said, so it will tear. But I don't want it as wide as the whole body, because these two pieces are going to get smaller in diameter when I start curving them over. So, and this hat looks a little bit too big for the size of the body. So so I'm going to take it down further. Now, you notice I'm not using any calipers to gauge widths or anything like that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing to do, but number one, I don't have calipers. Number two, I'm just out here in the shed goofing around. And when you do that, when you're out in the shed goofing around, sometimes you screw things up and you got to start over. I mean, in my mind, this is just a piece of wood, folks. It's just a piece of wood. So if I screw it up, yeah, that's frustrating, but I'm going to let it go and get another one and start all over again. Now I'm going to do the same thing up here. I'm going to reduce the diameter of the head, same sort of way as I did the hat. It's going to come down equal to the rim of the brim of the hat right now, just as a start, because the head needs to fit underneath the hat, right? That would look really silly. Because I can't get in there closer, I'm going to take the parting tool and I'm just going to do the same sort of thing as I did with the skew. Just kind of a peeling cut. See, take it in about that far. And these don't have to be super precise because I'm going to round them, I'm going to cut curves in them anyway. And if you get down this far and you see that your initial cuts here and here not deep enough to be proportionally the same, to make the proportions right, you can always make them a little deeper, okay? Alright, now we're going to start doing some cutting some curves with the skew, and I'm just going to try and very carefully work this around. I'll work my way towards the center of this section, curving this way and then curving back that way. Because I can't get down the groove, I'm going to put the long point down and go back in here. This is a little harder for me to do, but when I do it right, it works well. Now to do the same here. I'm just using the short point down. I don't know what the proper term is, but everybody can see it, what I'm doing. You see I had a little kick back there. That's okay though. It's early days. But you can see it's starting to look kind of like a ball, which is the idea. And you can see that, I kicked back there because I was sloppy. But that's okay. I can make it a little, put this snowman on a diet and make him a little bit thinner. Now I'm going to come back and go the other direction. You know, and you can also use this like a shear scraper, you know. But you want to be very light with your touch, because especially on cedar, because it will tear out. All right, let's just stop real quick and see what we have. Oh yeah, we got some tear out right in here. You can see it. Some right there on that, but I'm not worried about it. But see, this is going to be great because I'm going to have two-tone. I'm going to have the sapwood, which is blonde, and the heartwood, which is red. And it's going to be a really nice contrast for this snowman. All right, let's start doing the head section. Same sort of techniques. I've got the rest up around center of the spindle height, equal to about that point right there. Whoa! That's what you get when you're careless. See, now I know I've got some gouges in there. I don't even need to stop and look, because I know I had a catch. But it allows me to get down in my groove a little bit better and clean it up. And see, look, there's still kind of a big old goober there. So we're going to trim that out. Don't worry about it. It's just a piece of wood, right? So I'm just going to come in here. One of the things I don't do, which I should, is with skew, is you're supposed to have bevel contact before you start rolling the edge into cut. And I don't do that very often. That's why I got that big old catch like that. But see, the catch is gone now. So we just got to finish this. Yeah, it needs a little sanding, but that's okay. Cedar sands really well. In fact, it sands too well. So much so that you have to be careful, because you can significantly change the shape of cedar. It's kind of a two-edged sword, you know, for those of you that understand that concept. But there we go. The proportions are about right. The head is smaller than the brim of the hat. There's the hat. It's got its taper back end, and there's the body. So now we sand. So I'm going to turn the speed, excuse me, dinner's background. I'm going to turn the speed down to a little over 1,000. Got some 120 grit. Gonna turn on the dust extractor, and it's loud. It's 180, but you can't see very much of it. $320. As you can see, that's all as farther it needs to be sanded. This is not a showpiece. This is just a decoration. Somebody's going to put on their dining room table or something like that. I've got some boiled linseed oil here in my bowl. I'm just going to wipe it down. Turn the lathe on, turn it down to about 600-ish. Get it worked into the cracks here, into the grooves with my rag. Just a little beeswax here. This is from a friend of mine who's a bee. He's not a beekeeper, but he goes and does. If you have bees, honeybees in your house, he'll go and remove them for you. He's a bee removal guy. Now I'm going to turn it back up to about 1,000. Work in this beeswax, and we're almost done here. All right, that's about all I'm going to do for finish. Last thing I want to do is narrow this down until it falls off in my hand. So I'm going to do that with my bigger skew. Turn the speed down to about, I'm at 778 according to the dial. I'm just going to do, you see what I'm doing here? Gradually working it off. Have to be very careful because this may come flying off the lathe at some point. And then I'm going to take my parting tool. I'm just going to grasp around here. I'm holding my thumb down on the parting tool. And it's going to take it down. A little bit at a time. Back to the 1/2-inch skew. There we are. Now you can see I've got a little nub here on the top. And then I've got to fix this here. I've got to sand that down flat. But there it is. That's my version of a snowman in red cedar. Thanks for watching.